Hello guys, welcome to the channel. I've been meaning to film these guys properly for a long time, but they are in display cabinets, and every time I've come to do it, I've got a bit lazy and I can't be bothered to move things around, so I just try to film them in situ. But the light reflection and the flare issues coming off the glass door has been a bit of a pain, so I've finally moved the furniture so I can open up the door and get in close. Now, during this review, you might hear some noises coming from outside the building. Fortunately, it's that kind of area, but I'm going to try and get through it and just go into briefly what these guys are all about. Now, I don't have many Star Wars figures because it's a space issue where I live, but I've tried to pick the things that I remember mostly in my childhood and what I've seen recently. So let's come in close on this guy, The Mandalorian, and I consider that to be one of the best series related to the Star Wars world that they've done in a long time, even better than the last three films. And I think his name is Din Djarin, if I pronounced that correctly, Din Djarin. But he's my latest up-to-date version of Mandalorian, and the difference between him and my other two figures that are Mandalorians, that he has a cloth cape. So if you tuned into the channel, you would have seen me review these guys individually, but I've decided to show them in situ in the cabinet display. On this side, we've got Boba Fett from the TV series, The Book of Boba Fett, and really like him. Didn't mind the series, but it smelt a bit like they were milking all these characters, but I do like him as a figure. And then we come over down to that little guy, Grogu, who is from the same race as Yoda. And then to Jango Fett. Tried to get this guy for the longest time, and I know when he came out in the first wave, he disappeared quite quickly and it was hard to get, and they wanted stupid money for him, but I wasn't going to pay that. But what I'm going to do, once I get through this section, I'm going to take the helmets off Jango Fett and Boba Fett just to show you their face sculpts. And then I'm going to try and get in close without knocking anything over. That's your Gamerverse Darth Maul. And at the very back, that's Obi-Wan Kenobi from the series Obi-Wan. And that thing sticking up there in the back is my Qui-Gon Jinn lightsaber, which I bought when the film Phantom Menace first came out. So that's pretty old, and it works. Over on this side, we've got this trio. That's Chewbacca, Han Solo, and Princess Leia. I think I'll take her helmet off as well, show you what that looks like. So that's that section. So I'm just going to briefly put it on pause so you can see these guys without their helmets. So that was a bit fiddly, but let's go to Jango Fett. That's his head sculpt, and that has actually improved from the last head sculpt that was on the figure when they first released it. Looks more like the actor. And as I said before in the past, he's the father of Boba Fett. And talking of Boba Fett, there he is. Even though they're supposed to be the same person, the head sculpt's quite different there. And I have posed them both without their helmets in the past. But at the end of the day, I tend to like them with the helmets on. And talking of helmets, let's go down to that helmet. If you can notice there, I pull down that sort of targeting arm, which normally sticks up. And by that I mean that bit there, as you can see, sticking up on Boba Fett's helmet. You can actually position it downwards. And then let's come to Princess Leia. That's not a bad head sculpt for Princess Leia, but I prefer to pose her with the helmet on, which is at the front there. Quite fiddly. Just heard a car horn. Unfortunately, I'm living in a street where there's a lot of activity, so if you hear any outside noises, forgive me of that. That's a better shot of Grogu. And there's a better shot of Obi-Wan Kenobi there from the series Obi-Wan. I watched that series, actually. It's a pretty good series. So that's what the top section of the shelving unit looks like, or the cabinet looks like for now. I'm just going to put it on pause so I can get a better angle for the next level down. So this is the next level down. So we're coming on Darth Vader. Now all the figures you're seeing today have all been reposed. Took me a while, but it was worth it because I like the way they're looking. So he's just been released again with half of his helmet broken, and that's from the series Obi-Wan. That figure looks quite good. You can see Anakin's face underneath that helmet, but I don't know if I'm going to pick him up. Then of course this is my favourite version of Boba Fett, as he was seen in The Empire Strikes Back. And originally Boba Fett was played by Jeremy Bulloch, who sadly passed away not long ago. And then coming over to Darth Maul. In the past I've posed him without the robes, but I thought this is the first time I'm posing him with both the lightsabers being held individually. Not a bad face sculpt there. But one day I'll get round to reposing him, take those robes off and show you him in his iconic look when he took on Padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi and Master Qui-Gon Jinn. This is now Luke Skywalker, based on his appearance in Return of the Jedi. Still hearing voices outside, so I do apologise. And then we'll come right in close to show you the Emperor there. And the didn't have a lightsaber, but I thought I'd get it off one of my Darth Maul figures and give him a lightsaber. And this is how he looked when he first appeared in Return of the Jedi. Now if I come over the top, coming in close, you'll see at the back there Padawan Qui-Gon Jinn, not Padawan Qui-Gon Jinn, Master Qui-Gon Jinn, and Padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then you'll see Dengar there. Apparently in his backstory, he trained Boba Fett after his father died. Well, I haven't read that story, so I wouldn't be able to confirm it. And at the very back, you've got yourself Mace Windu, played by Samuel L. Jackson, a stormtrooper, and Moff Gideon from the Mandalorian series. So I don't mind that look there. I'm going to put it on pause and wait for those irritating people outside to stop talking and ruining this review. So we're on the bottom section of the cabinet, and these are mainly Mandalorian figures, but this one here is from Rogue One, Jyn Erso, and I consider that to be the best film outside of the traditional Star Wars films. I've got all the Star Wars movies, but I consider this one to be the best one compared to the Han Solo story. And that's a figure from the Mandalorian series, and so is that one, and so is this guy, Quill, voiced by Nick Nolte. That's the Armorer, also from Mandalorian. Behind her, you'll see Deathwash Mandalorian. And then let me get in close. And that is Carl Weathers, the late Carl Weathers, who played, I think it's Greer Gargan. And I'll get an angle shot for one of my other Mandalorian figures in the corner. And there's the other one that I have. At the very back, we've got those two guys, Finn from the last 3 Star Wars films on the left, and Cassian Andor from the series Endor. Now, I didn't bother watching that because I just thought, well, you know that guy gets killed off, so what's the point of watching a series about him? But that's my small collection of Star Wars figures in the cabinet section, and what I'm going to do is pause it again and go on to the other side where I've got totally different things. So this is the other side of the cabinet. Now this is what I call my DC side, and these are mainly Green Lanterns. I'll come in close on him first. Hal Jordan, Green Lantern. But I'll change the constructs or the energy effects or the weapons of these Green Lanterns. So this isn't necessarily how he came when I bought him, but I thought it's interesting to swap things around. That is another version of Green Lantern in the Batman format. Apparently he's an evil Batman, but I do like that construct of the bat. Then we've got Kyle Rayner, I think it is, not sure, can't remember. Then we've got Green Arrow at the back. Parallax, who's supposed to be an evil version of Green Lantern. So I'm going to pause this now because it's all about getting a decent angle shot without wasting footage. So that's how they look on the bottom section of this cabinet. Let's move on to the next section up. Now I'll come to the very top of the cabinet section because I wanted to leave the middle section till last. But that is, of course, if you've been watching anything to do with DC, Aquaman. And he's actually sitting on another figure's throne. That is the throne for Darkseid Lex Luthor, who wears the power suit. But this is the throne I've given him because I quite like that effect. And overall, I do like that little display I've created. And on this side, we've got Black Manta, the enemy of Aquaman. Now, this isn't the Aquaman that was featured in the movie. I prefer this version because he comes with a trident and those sort of blades there. But I could have picked up the movie version for about a tenner, but I thought I'm going to stick to this. I apologise for that car horn and the idiots outside, but I like the fact that I can film this stuff and it kind of comes across a bit amateur. But as long as I've got it on film, I'm happy. And that's King Kordax, who was only in the film for 10 minutes, but he was in Aquaman 2. And at the back, I've got that Swamp Thing figure, which was sold to me really cheaply by my friend, who actually owns a Bilko museum and a toy outlet. And at the back there, you can just about make out Ocean Master. So I'll pull back just to show you the overall effect. That's better. So let's do the last bit and then move on. So this is the last bit in terms of this review. We will be going upstairs because I posted out a few things upstairs differently. But this is my Christian Bale Batman wave. And I'll come in close on him first. And Christian Bale, in my opinion, was a very good Batman. Bruce Wayne. Then of course we've got Heath Ledger, who played the Joker, and he got an honorary Oscar for his role, and rightly so. And I've got him sitting on top of his diorama money. And then we've got Tom Hardy, who played Bane, holding the broken cowl mask of Batman, like that. Then we've got Aaron Eckhart, who played Two-Face, with a weapon from my accessory pack. And then there's, trying to get the focus right, there's Anne Hathaway, played Catwoman. And last but not least, just trying to get the focus right, you can just about make out Scarecrow, played by, I think it's Cillian Murphy. And on the very back, you'll see a kind of bit of artwork with Christian Bale's autograph. And that was gifted to me by my friend. Check out Ray Ray's collection and subscribe. So now we're going to go upstairs because we've been filming in the living room to see some of the other things I've posed out differently. So, I've just recently posed out this guy. And I do love that head sculpt. And that is Major Arnold Tote, played by Ronald Lacey from the film Raiders of the Lost Ark. And of course there is Harrison Ford holding this sculpture. Is it a sculpture? Whatever it is, you see him holding that in the film Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I'm after the other three figures associated with this film, so I can finish off building that art, which you can just about make out there. But that's the two of them. There's a lot of noise coming from outside for a Sunday. Now I could get really political and talk about the place I've moved back to, which is my hometown. But if you're a Star Wars fan, you'll know what I mean when I call where I live the Mos Eisley of the West Midlands. Never will you find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. But that's my little opinion. I'm just going to quickly show you this bit, which I've been over before. I thought I'd get it in. Then I'm going to come over to my X-Man Beast. I've done a review on him. He's been posed in a different way. He's actually holding, well, I call it a log or a stick from my NECA King Kong. And on the very bottom, I've just reposed him, is my John Wick figure. And I love that movie. John Wick, also known as Baba Yaga. Quite like that. Let's get a close-up on him. Apparently they're making another one, but I haven't watched the last one, which is John Wick Ballerina, but I will get round to it. I've got all the other films in my collection, but that is how he looks at the moment. So I'm going to pause it and get to the last bit of this review. Now, I am trying to get the rest of the characters related to this franchise, The Incredibles, so I can do a proper review, but I thought I'd quickly show you what they look like at the moment. And Mr. Incredible was voiced by Craig T. Nelson, famous for being in the Poltergeist movie, directed by Steven Spielberg. And Mr. Freeze there was voiced by Samuel L. Jackson. And that is that. So let's do the last bit and call it a day. So I wanted to show him again because I just put this head sculpt on him. King Kong. And this is based on the version that was done in the 30s. My favourite version. I have the King Kong movies and the Godzilla movies. And that film has been remastered, so it looks pretty good. Although it's dated, you have to acknowledge Ray Harryhausen, who created the special effects. And I won't go over all that again because I have told you all about him. To me, this was his best work. And I'm glad to have a figure which was released by NECA. But they have brought out the movie version of King Kong, which is based on the recent films. But that's my King Kong. I love him. And we're going to finish on the DC section, which is in the kitchen, because I've slightly changed that out. So this is the DC section. I'm not even going to name them because I've done all this before, but they're all being reposed. Major difference here, I've put Superman back on his feet and not on a flight stand next to Darkseid Lex Luthor, who you may have heard me mention earlier on in the review. And there you go, there's Superman from Dark Knight Returns and Armoured Batman from Dark Knight Returns. And that character is made famous by the artwork of Frank Miller, who is also involved in a couple of my favourite films, Sin City 1 and 2, 300 and 300 A Rise of the Empire. So I'm just going to quickly sweep over all the other figures, and if you're a comic book fan you'll pretty much recognise them. Not doing a lot of talking now, just showing you how they look for now. But I've got a funny feeling when I come around to making the Christmas video, this section might have my Wakanda Forever Black Panther figures on it. And you did see these two being reviewed last time, so I won't go into that. Let's go to the back section, and there's a horse that this Batman rides, and it may well be the case that when I would do the Christmas tour you'll see him on that horse, and I do like that figure. Damian Wayne with a batarang, never posed him with one because he's normally got that big sword there that Batman has. But I'm not going to go into it anymore, just quickly show you what's been done. So what I'll do is I'll leave it on them two and say thanks for watching the channel. You're looking at Hush Batman and Tim Drake Robin, and say thanks for watching the channel. I'll see you again next time. And I do apologise for the undesirable types outside my home making noises, but I did the best I could. Until next time, I'll see you again soon.